I don't know if there is anybody more loathsome on this platform than Destiny. However, he did spend the last 48 hours, give or take, getting absolutely obliterated. Welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle, and yeah, I wasn't expecting it to be the critical drinker of all individuals, but it all started with this tweet. A tweet that I'm sure you're familiar with because it has been the talk of the town the last few days. So before we go ahead and go through this, hit that subscribe button. I'm a nerdy news channel. I cover nerdy news every day. And yes, Denisha Carter. If men's mental health mattered to men, they'd be creating safe spaces for themselves and each other, pursuing therapy, creating community. Instead, they perpetuate the very behaviors and systems that have handicapped them in the first place, refuse to support or create community amongst each other, severely damage the women in their lives who try to care for them, and attack women online for not doing the work for them in replies to tweets like the one below.
That's stupid! You're stupid! Stop being stupid!
Yeah, I don't even know where to begin with this. So many people have attacked this woman, called her out, destroyed her, and for very obvious reasons. This is absolutely one of the dumbest tweets you could have possibly made, and goes to show that you do not understand anything about the male-female dynamic that's been happening in the last decade or so, where men have been quite literally unable to create their own spaces because they're not allowed or being usurped by women. Now, we'll get to whose problem and mostly whose fault that is in a little bit, but just speaking from an anecdotal experience, let's take D&D Beyond, for example. I remember just a few short years ago, D&D Beyond quite literally banned all male spaces for men playing the game, straight up saying that they will shut those spaces down of their own accord if people try to create male-only games. However, females were not only allowed to have, mixed games, with what they wanted, male and female games, but also females were allowed to create female-only games because they were afraid of the men in the space, despite the fact this is an over-the-computer role-playing game. It's not like they were playing in person. The double standard was palpable. And there are tons of examples like this. So yes, men really weren't allowed to have their own spaces. In fact, that is what the critical drinker brings up. People like you made it literally impossible for men to have any spaces, hobbies, clubs, interests, groups, or social spaces of their own. People like you mandated that women must include everything that they think and do. And now people like you berate them for not having the very things they prevented from having. People like you are the problem. Now, this is a very succinct and accurate tweet to what has been going on for the last, I don't even know how many years at this point. I mean, I would say roughly 10, give or take. It started very much in the video game space, but it's branched out far beyond. Again, tabletop, role-playing games, sports, the Boy Scouts even. Again, to quote Ben Shapiro, despite the name boy being in it. So, yeah, I really don't know how Denisha Carter here can expect men to have their own spaces when women keep forcing themselves into them, or even more importantly, I would argue, when beta males keep allowing, God, that's such a cringy term to use, but it really is what's happening, when very, soft, simpy beta males keep allowing women into their male spaces, because they're hoping that will get them some sort of access to the downstairs nether regions. But the best part about this is Destiny's response to the critical drinker. Now, I didn't think I would live in a timeline where Destiny, the critical drinker, would sort of fall under. Yes, of course, the critical drinker sometimes gets political, but at the end of the day, he's just a Scottish film reviewer who happens to have some pretty base takes on politics, specifically Western politics. Western politics are Destiny's entire life, despite how inept he is at actually understanding them and articulating his thoughts on them. And this is one just example of that. Isn't the problem right now that we are too segregated into our own spaces? Really, we're too segregated. Why is it that in my anecdotal experience from literally just a few minutes ago, the Dungeons and Dragons experience, we aren't segregated at all? In fact, men asking for that segregation gets them banned from the game if they play online, and Wizards of the Coast catches them doing it. There is no segregation. In fact, in some instances, segregation can be a good thing. There's not even a segregation in women's sports anymore, because since men can't have their own spaces, they're deciding to put on dresses and wigs and start taking estrogen, despite the fact they've had testosterone their whole lives, and get in the boxing ring or the track and field events with women and proceed to utterly destroy them. No, we're not too segregated. In fact, we could do with some more segregation. Now, are there times when men and women should hang out? Absolutely. In fact, I would say the vast majority of the time, men and women should be able to get along, hang out, have mutual spaces. But you know what? That's 30, 25% of the time where we want to just be with our own kind, whether it be, again, male or female, it really doesn't matter. Yes, that should 100% be allowed. And to be fair, women aren't getting this either because of the aforementioned dudes cosplaying as women, usurping their spaces scene. But this isn't about that. This is about men's mental health, men having hobbies, and the fact of the matter is, Destiny, it goes to show that Destiny has no idea, or worse, doesn't care what's going on when it comes to men's spaces, because he doesn't understand that we don't have those separate. And it's not just the Critical Drinker calling out Destiny as well. He got absolutely roasted and destroyed for this tweet. What about our boy Atreus here? Just because you like being cucked, don't mean the rest of us do. We'll come back to this because, chef's kiss. Beautifully done, Atreus. What about our boy, the Shagsworth here? Hey, Shagsworth had a much more eloquent take than Atreus did, but again, you kind of need both sides. Shagsworth said, I'm not sure why it's difficult to understand. Men created safe spaces for themselves, and women systematically dismantled them because it was too toxic for women. It wasn't their space to assert authority. Try to keep up, pal. Now, Shagsworth, this seems like a pretty harsh tweet, but Shagsworth is one of the most fair individuals you will find on this side of the internet. He is frequently trying to sort of dismantle a lot of misogynistic takes because, well, he does not find them to be helpful to our space in the culture war. However, he is also quick to assert very masculine points like this one, like what he's making against Destiny here. So I think the Shagsworth kind of nailed it beautifully. Women have systematically dismantled this. Women have came in and usurped Star Wars and usurped gaming, and to a point even usurped sports because they're, let's be real, always upset about what's going on in the state of sports. Oh, why is the WNBA not getting the same viewership and have the same respect as the NBA? Well, maybe because the NBA is subsidizing it when it comes to ticket sales because nobody actually cares about the WNBA. Not even the same women that they purport to, have an issue with. The same women that it's supposedly made for. But again, Shagsworth fairness aside, even that isn't really the ultimate. Isn't really the ultimate crux. No, the ultimate winner of this tweet is this one right here. Speaking of spaces where men and women interact with each other. Yeah, I don't know that we could have really a better encapsulation. Like, again, I even said myself that this was probably the most obvious joke to make. But I didn't see anybody make it but the Critical Drinker, and it's so beautiful. It's so simple. We've got the ultimate cuck. The very famous public cuck, who, frankly, with this image alone, has probably set liberals back a solid 15 years. God bless his heart. And it wasn't even that great a joke, just a very obvious joke that somebody did need to make. After this whole, too segregated into our own spaces comment, this shows he has no concept of the modern culture. That being said, this is the part of the video where you guys aren't gonna like what I have to say. This is the part of the video where, it might be a little bit too, man-hating or misogynistic for you. But my boy Dave here, great account, follow him. He is based as hell. He had a different take on this matter. So, first of all, he's responding to a separate response. Men had Star Wars, women invaded. Men had sci-fi, women invaded. Men had video games, women invaded. Men had D&D, women invaded. Men had comics, women invaded. Men had men's only clubs, women invaded. The only thing men have anymore is either solitary or you fuss us for. Now, women didn't invade. Men let the bad apples get their way instead of supporting the proper ones who love the hobby as much as we did. Men let these socialist titties hypnotize them and give them everything they require to destroy cohesion. It is our fault. We're to blame. I could not agree with this statement more. Now, to be fair, women did invade, but men allowed them to invade. Men did let the bad apples get in their way instead of supporting the pro. Because, let's be real, there's always been women that play video games. There's always been women who've been interested in sports. There's always been women that want to play Dungeons and Dragons. However, We did not properly gatekeep because, like he said, the socialist titties that would put on the big gobs of eyeliner and the push-up bra and claim, oh, look at me, I'm a nerd girl too, or oh, I just love playing sports, when really they could not care less, but they wanted to change and alter what men think of in certain hobbies, or what men think of them, or challenge the patriarchy, and to challenge the patriarchy, they would insert themselves in predominantly male spaces, and men absolutely let these bad apples get their way and did not gatekeep the way we absolutely should have. And that's the most interesting part for me for all this, because it doesn't matter if the critical drinker destroyed Destiny. It doesn't matter if Destiny has no goddamn idea what's going on in terms of, oh, we have too much segregation as it is, and that's what's causing all these problems. No, what's causing all these problems is the weakness and failure of men, because we are such goddamn simps that we can't have our own spaces anymore. We have let that ship sail, and it's our fault. And frankly, as much as I love to blame women, and as much as I am kind of a sexic, toxic misogynist and think there's a lot that we can blame women for, Dave's kind of right here, and maybe, just maybe, we should kind of buck up and get back to that. But that being said, it was just awful nice. But all that aside, we can debate about that in the comments below. But it was really great to see Destiny get bodied yet again, because ever since the assassination attempt on Donald Trump, Destiny has been taking L after L after L, and for this one to come from a YouTube movie reviewer when it comes to the cultural and political side of things, which is supposed to be Destiny's bread and butter, was too beautiful not to pass out. But these are just my opinions. Let me know yours in the comments down below, or let me know on X, or you can find me at Bolt the Word. And please do subscribe. I am a nerdy news channel. I cover nerdy news every day, and not always about what's going on, with political streamers like Destiny, but anime, movies, music, Magic the Gathering, you name it. Check me out on Instagram at wordsofparadise_Leon, and become a member for $4.99 a month. You can join the Discord, choose the articles I go over on a day-to-day basis, choose the videos I react to on my Friday night live streams, and of course get involved with over 80 other vital idols. We are a bright, beautiful, glowing, vibrant community that I cannot wait to grow even further, because we do care about diversity, but only one kind of diversity of thought. Women, you are allowed, as long as you actually have diversity of thought. If that sounds interesting to you, join the Discord, hit subscribe, and until next time, it's all here in the Nerdosphere. This has been Words of Paradise.